Hello, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We have entered the legal tampering portion of the NFL offseason. For the next 48 hours or so, teams will be allowed to negotiate with free agents and hammer out gentlemen's agreements to deals that will be ratified officially starting Wednesday. So by the time you're watching this, there's probably already been some interesting news that has come across the wire, and you might already have some idea of what is going to happen during the actual free agency period. So we are very close. We are finally going to have some concrete stuff to talk about, and it's time for me to wrap up my thoughts on what I want the Seahawks to do this offseason, and that's what we're going to do. So today, we are going to be going through the new players that I want the Seahawks to bring in this offseason. We are going to go through the guys that I want to pluck from other teams or pluck out of the draft. And there are a few, but one thing I want to say before we get into this is this offseason plan that I've constructed is intentionally designed to be as uninvasive as possible. I don't want to crawl into a rabbit hole of we trade Lockett for this pick and that pick, and then we take those picks with another pick and combine them to move up to this pick, and then we use that pick to trade for Tom Brady, and then we trade Tom Brady for... I don't want to crawl too deep into this stuff. That's not to say that I don't think we should do some of those things. I do think that this team might benefit from moving a guy like a Tyler Lockett. This team might benefit from moving around in the draft. And I do think this team will probably do at least some of those things, but in the interest of not making this take forever, and in the interest of not crawling down a really deep rabbit hole that ends up having no use, because even though the team may do some exotic things this offseason, they will certainly not do the exotic things that I project in my head. I'm going to try to keep it to simple stuff. How can we fix our issues without completely changing the team? That's number one. Second thing I want to go over, once again, this is the offseason plan that I really like. It is not the only offseason plan that I like. There are probably dozens of offseason plans that I think would be great and I would be thrilled with. There are maybe hundreds of offseason plans that I would be okay with. So just because I didn't discuss your idea or somebody else's idea in this video doesn't mean that I'm completely against it. It just means that, well, I like this a little bit better as of right now. So let's go ahead and jump in. So this is going to be a little shorter than the previous video because there's just going to be less to go over. I'm not looking to import a whole new team this offseason. I think there is some merit to the idea of signing a whole bunch of studs to one-year deals this offseason because the cap is in a weird spot right now and trying to build a one-year super team. But putting that possibility to the side for a moment, let's talk about a more normal and even offseason plan. So, obtain. Who do I want the Seahawks to obtain in free agency? These are 3 players who were not on the team last year who I want to be on the team in 2021. The first is running back Jamal Williams, the backup running back for the Green Bay Packers, and I think that you could probably get him for about 2 years, $6 million. There's not a big market out there for him, and while he's clearly good, he was also a backup in Green Bay. There's not yet a lot of reason to believe that he can become some tremendous starting running back in the league, so I say 2 years, $6 million. It might be a little more, but this is not a good year for players like Jamal Williams to get the bag. So, first of all, this is very contingent on who we bring back. If we re-sign Carlos Hyde, then obviously that changes my plans significantly. If we get Carlos Hyde back, then I'm not going to want Jamal Williams. In the interest of transparency, I will say I would prefer Jamal Williams to Carlos Hyde. I think he's a much better player. I think he has more upside. I think Jamal Williams might have the upside of being a quality starter in the NFL. So I actually really like the idea of bringing in Jamal Williams. And I would, like I said, prefer to Hyde. But it's contingent on what we do with Hyde. So that's number one. Number two, this is kind of the big swing of the offseason for me. I think we need to take a big swing. I think Wilson is basically demanding it, and I say it should be center Corey Linsley, also of the Packers. Probably the best center in free agency, although he won't be the most expensive because of his age and his mild injury history. 3 years, $30 million, very reasonable price for an elite center like Corey Linsley. He's only, I think, 30, should have a couple of good years left, and we should be able to sign with some kind of deal that only gives him $4, maybe $5 million against the cap in 2021. So sign me up for Corey Linsley. Obviously, we are doing this contingent on whether or not we keep Ethan Posick. If we keep Posick, then we may not do the Linsley thing, because if we're signing Posick, we might be signing him to start. But I would much rather have Linsley in 2021 than Posick, I will say that. Final guy I want to obtain this offseason from free agency would be tight end Gerald Everett from the Rams. And he's somebody that I kind of want to get no matter what. There are other tight ends that would be okay, like Jonnu Smith, but I like Everett. I think we're going to get the most value out of him. I think that Shane Waldron would love to have him in this offense. And I think you can get him for 3 years and $18 million. Not that expensive, very manageable. The first year might only be $2 to $3 million against the cap. And yeah, I think it would be well worth it. And I think Wilson would get the tight end that he's been looking for a little while. And I think Shane Waldron would get a tight end that he would love to work with, who he worked with in Los Angeles. So that's the 3 free agents I want to bring in. That's really all there is in terms of stuff that is worth talking about. So let's jump to the draft. First, I want to make one thing very clear. Who we draft is going to be heavily informed by who we get in free agency and who we lose, obviously. This is my first mock draft of the year. This mock draft is going to probably look radically different in a month, just because the team is going to make decisions in free agency that force us to reconsider our draft priorities. However, if the offseason goes the way that I want it to go, and if the team is sitting where I want them to be sitting in a month plus, this is the draft that I want. So let's go over it real quick, again, with the caveat that I understand things are going to shift a lot between now and then. So with our second round pick, I would take offensive guard Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State University. I think Wyatt Davis is going to be a day one starter at left guard. I think he can do it. I think he could be a really good guard for us. He's not the only guard in this draft that I like around this slot. There's Ben Cleveland, I think I think he's from Georgia, who I rather like. David Moore from, I think, Grambling State would be appealing, but my favorite is Wyatt Davis, and we could get him, and we could have a really solid offensive line going into 2021. Okay, fourth round. We don't pick again until the fourth round. I like cornerback Tyson Campbell from the University of Georgia, the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have a lot of really good corners in the draft this year. So Tyson Campbell, I like his body type. He's got that Sherman-type frame. He's got the stuff that Carroll likes to work with. I think if you bring him in, you could start grooming him to be an outside corner immediately, and he has a chance to be a starter by 2022, with some opportunity to get on the field in 2021. So yeah, Tyson Campbell. There are other corners in this draft that I like a lot too, like Benjamin St. Juste from Minnesota, but I think Tyson Campbell will be there, and I think he fits. Fifth round, I would go with running back Chuba Hubbard of Oklahoma State University. I think we do need to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility at running back, because I'm not in love with Penny, and even if we get Jamal Williams, I don't think he's guaranteed to be some killer. So I want to give myself another chance to get a potential stud running back. And we see fifth-round running backs become immediate contributors all the time. So you could get Chuba, and he might turn into something even as a rookie. So yeah, Chuba Hubbard, fifth round. Sixth round, I like Drew Dahlman from Stanford. He's a center, can also probably play a little bit of guard. He's the only center that I saw in this draft class who I think fits what Shane Waldron's offense is going to want. A lot of the centers I saw, they either projected to be better at guard than center, or they projected to fit well in a, run blocking, power run scheme that I don't think Waldron wants. Drew Dahlman is the one guy who stood out to me as a guy who might fit into a zone blocking scheme, the likes of which I think that Waldron's going to want in. I also threw one UDFA pickup here at the end. Wide receiver TJ Vasher from TTU. I have a couple commenters who really like this guy. I like this guy too. I don't think he's going to be drafted, and if he is, it's going to be really late. So TJ Vasher would be my favorite undrafted rookie free agent. There are going to be others, obviously, but this would be somebody who I would put on my radar. And that's it. That's the offseason. So with all that in mind, let's take our last 10 minutes here to take a look at what the final 2021 Seahawks depth chart would be if I got what I wanted. So quarterback, same as the last couple years, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith. Running back would be Rashad Penny starting, Jamal Williams is the backup, and DJ Dallas and Travis Homer taking up space. And I would say that Chuba Hubbard would have a spot reserved for him on the practice squad, and if DJ Dallas and Travis Homer don't show something, or if they get hurt, or whatever may happen, Chuba can be there ready to grab that third string role. And as a third string running back in the NFL, you will get on the field occasionally. So if Chuba can show that he's better than DJ and Travis, which I don't think will be that hard, then there may be room for him in 2021. Fullback, Nick Bellore. Again, I'm pretty ambivalent on fullbacks, but Bellore's pretty good at what he does. So I think my preferred scenario would be to bring him back and let him be the lone fullback. Wide receiver, top, obviously at the top of the depth chart, we have DK Metcalf, and then we have Tyler Lockett. Now, I'm going to say this again. I want to trade Tyler Lockett. I do. I think our team will benefit from getting a little younger at the receiver position. But again, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to crawl into that rabbit hole. But if we do trade Lockett, then know that I probably am good with it, and simply assume that the receiver we draft with the pick that we got when we traded Lockett is going to be used on a receiver, or another similarly valuable pick will be used to take a wide receiver to replace Lockett. There are quite a few good receivers in this draft, quite a few guys who could be day one starters. So if you want to get rid of Lockett, just swap out Lockett for your favorite rookie second or third round receiver, and I would be good with it too. So as of right now, Lockett's the number 2. Then we have David Moore. Then we have Freddie Swain as the number 4. Aaron Fuller, my guy, as the number 5. And Penny Hart as the number 6. And there is a practice squad spot reserved for TJ Vasher. All right, now we're going to tight end. And I really like the balance of this tight end group. We have Gerald Everett, a great receiving tight end, and a clear number 1. Will Dissly, who I think has proven that right now he is clearly a number 2. A great blocking tight end who can catch the occasional pass, but not much more than that. And then at the number 3 spot, we have Colby Parkinson, who it's time to see if he can do something, but I also understand that Colby, it's not a great idea to depend on him for anything big. So the tight end 3 spot is good for him. Maybe he'll give us something in 2021, and we can start to see whether or not we have something in the future, because Dissly might not be here next year, but if he doesn't, then we can kind of write him off and it won't kill the team in 2021. All right, offensive line, starting at left tackle, I have Dwayne Brown with Cedric Ogbuhi backing him up for the moment. I know Cedric O played right tackle for us last year, but he played left tackle in previous seasons for the Bengals, I think. So yeah, left guard would be starting Wyatt Davis, and backing him up would be Phillip Haynes. I don't want to completely sleep on Phillip Haynes yet. I'm not interested in depending on him in 2021, but don't be surprised if he gets in there at some point and plays pretty well. I kind of like what I saw from him a couple years ago. Okay, center, Corey Linsley starting with Drew Dahlman backing him up. You may notice I don't have Kyle Fuller here right now. I know we tendered him, but it's my honest hope that we retract that tender between now and the season starting, which you can do because none of the money is guaranteed. So I feel like that we can do better than Kyle Fuller even with our limited draft capital. So kind of hoping Kyle Fuller's not on the team in 2021 and that our backup center is rookie Drew Dahlman. Right guard, we have Damian Lewis starting, of course, with Jamarco Jones backing him up. At this point, I'm kind of over the Jamarco Jones at starting tackle experiment. I think he's probably better as a guard, so I'm just going to leave him there for now. And if and when somebody gets hurt, he can be the guard. And I think that's probably best for this team and best for him. So that gets us to right tackle. I still have Brandon Shell there with Tommy Champion backing him up. He's been on the practice squad, I think, for a couple years now. It's time to see if he can actually at least be on an NFL roster. And obviously, Cedric Ogbuhi has a little bit of flexibility to play right tackle if Shell goes down. So we have a little bit of insurance there. And that's your offense. Let's jump to the defense. Carlos Dunlap, who, as I already said, I want to bring back. LJ Collier, Rasheem Green, Darrell Taylor, Alton Robinson, and Demontre Moore. We go 6 deep with guys who are, at the very least, who are either already very good or have the potential to at least be solid, with the possible exception of Demontre Moore, who is kind of capped out. Alton Robinson showed me something as a rookie. He might get a decent amount better this year and become a genuine starter. Darrell Taylor has the talent. We know that. Rasheem Green, I'm not over Rasheem Green completely yet. I think last year there was some bad luck, and I'm willing to give him a chance in 2021 to prove he can be a stud, but I'm also not betting on it. LJ Collier, I just feel like he's going to get capped out at somebody who gets 5, maybe 6 sacks a season, but that's not worthless. So this defensive end group, it's not great, but Dunlap does make them all a little more deadly, so I'm willing to work with this. Defensive tackle, we have Jerron Reed, who at the moment I think we're going to bring back, but there's obviously opportunity to let him go. If we do, then we'll have to reevaluate. But for the moment, I'm going to say we bring back Jerron Reed, Poona Ford behind him, and then Brian Monet is the number 3. We don't need more than 3 defensive tackles because Rasheem Green and LJ Collier can both play inside sometimes. I do, however, have a practice squad spot opened for Cedric Lattimore, who I like, and I want to see him on our practice squad in 2021. Okay, now we go to the linebackers. Pretty self-explanatory here. We have Bobby Wagner and Ben Burkervin backing him up, just like last year. Seems fine to me. And at outside linebacker, my top outside linebacker would be Jordan Brooks, and then I would give a promotion to Cody Barton to be the other outside linebacker. He gets a little bit of time to prove himself as a worthy NFL player. He gets at least a few games to show that he can be the third linebacker. If it doesn't work out, then you can pursue other options and you can write off Cody Barton as a bust. You know, I think we should bring back Bruce Irvin for that reason, because we know Bruce can be fairly competent, and he also has the flexibility to playing on the edge, which is valuable. But I want to see what Cody Barton can do in his 3rd season. This is kind of his last chance for me, but I don't want to give up on a 3rd-round pick after seeing him do bad in a couple of games, which is really all it is so far with Cody. Okay, now we're going to the secondary. Top cornerback would be Quinton Dunbar, who, like I said, I want to bring back. DJ Reed, who, by the way, guys, is still under contract. There's no need to worry about DJ Reed. If the team wants him back, he is back. He's under contract. But backing them up would be Trey Flowers and Ryan Neal, both guys who have shown things in the past. Flowers, it's been almost 2 years since he showed much, but he showed stuff, and Ryan Neal showed stuff last year. And then backing those guys up would be rookie Tyson Campbell, with Jordan Miller hanging out on the practice squad. I just kind of like him. All right, so those are outside cornerbacks. Let's take a look at nickelbacks, and yes, there is a big difference in the Pete Carroll defense especially. The starting nickelback will be Ugo Amadi with Marquise Blair backing him up. I feel bad for Blair losing his job to injury, but I think Ugo played pretty well last year, so the job is his. And that brings us to safety. We all know what's going on here. We have Jamal Adams at strong safety, of course. Lano Hill as kind of the universal safety backup. Along with Blair, by the way. Blair probably would come in if somebody got hurt at safety. And then Quandre Diggs at free safety. And we're rounding out the 53-man with Jason Myers as kicker, punter Michael Dixon, and long snapper Tyler Ott. And that would be my ideal Seahawks 2021 offseason. It's not the only one that I love, but it's one of the ones that I love. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think this team could compete for a title in 2021? Is there anything you would do differently? Do you like any of my suggestions? Do you actively hate any of my suggestions? We could probably spend a little bit of time talking about the players we might move, like Lockett, Reed, maybe somebody like Quandre Diggs or Bobby Wagner. That's a little less likely, but possible. And yeah, that's my offseason, guys. Only 3 big free agents bringing in, or, not even big, but 3 free agents of note. We don't have to do anything crazy to get a ton of draft picks or cap room. It's just a solid offseason. I'm out of here. Next time you see me, it'll be offseason time. Peace out. Go Hawks. See y'all in a couple days.